Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the GEEKDOM Gamescast. It's been a little break, but me and Travis Moody are back, and we have a bit to talk about, even though there hasn't been any crazy news or anything. We still have to go over our Game of the Years, and we still have to go over what we're excited for, 2021. As much of a shit show that the 2020 was, video games-wise, it was still great. And no matter how crazy 2021 gets, it's already getting crazy. Video games wise, it still looks promising, but before we get into all that, how are you, Mr. Moody? How's it going? How's it
Good,
going
man.
on?
Well, good, man. Always a pleasure to join you. It's been 3 weeks. I haven't gamed too much, but I got a couple games I've been playing the last couple days, and yeah, just want to promote our channel, God Hates Geeks. We're going full blown with the YouTube, doing a lot of virtual podcasts, I like to call them, or visual podcasts. So, Toy Kind of Mood and Ringside Apostles if you love the wrestling. So, action figures, wrestling, video games, we got you covered. Hopefully, more shows as we go on.
We look too good to just be on podcasts, so we're going to go all YouTube this year. Our crazy backgrounds and stuff, you guys can't miss this. Like, you're not going to get this on a podcast, right? So
yeah, we don't have faces for radio, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. I grew this hair out for a reason. I want to show it off, and we can't do that at the club or anything or at a show. So here we go.
Looking like Din Djarin.
Nice. So let's just talk about what we've been playing for winter break. I want to follow up since we haven't come to you at all with a Gamescast for the past 3 weeks. Just really quick, I got into Demon's Souls. I will say it looks really good. With that next gen stuff, the loading times are really amazing. All the lighting, I'm running it on performance mode, but I can't even see how much better it is on resolution mode. So
Oh, wow.
it just looks smooth, crisp. It is hard. The one thing I'll say is that with Demon's Souls, you can kind of choose which levels you go to. You're not like locked in the same one. So it's like Super Mario World, so you can just kind of choose. And also, it's only the bosses that are really hard, and you can kind of cheese that with a friend, so it's not as punishing as people say it is, but it's definitely going to be sweaty, so it's fun. But like the main thing that I was really enjoyed, I got it for Christmas, so the main thing I really enjoyed is just how great it looks. It looks amazing. It's one of the things that shows off the PS5 hardware.
Sick. Good.
I've been playing Hitman, which is fun, and that's not your typical stealth game, and I didn't know it like that. There's actually like a lot of story going on in the world, so like you're in a huge area, and you're kind of just trying to figure out how to assassinate people, and there's a lot of like silly stuff that you can get into with like dressing up as like a caterer and poisoning someone's lunch. It's not just Metal Gear Solid or you're crouching behind a crate throwing rocks to distract people. It's not just that boring stealth. So it actually surprised me, and I'm really excited to see what that developer does with the new James Bond game, since they just announced that they were going to do that. So that's really cool.
Is this Hitman 1 or 2?
I bought Hitman 2, but the thing with Hitman 2 is it comes with all the campaign stories from 1, so you could play it in there through their new engine. And actually, Hitman 3 is going to do the same, but we'll get into that later.
Sure.
I checked in with Destiny. They did their PS5 update, Xbox Series X update. Gorgeous. That game's always looked good, but now it's running at 60 frames per second. If you have the monitor, you could do 120 hertz for the Crucible. And since I've been behind on Destiny, like Shadowkeep and Beyond Light that just came out, I haven't played those. So there's like a lot of good single player content to get into. So it feels like a whole new other game, basically. And it's a good time to just jump in there. I'm not like binging it or anything, but every now and then I'll just pop on Destiny and run a few levels, and it's still same old Destiny, same and still good. If you like that first-person shooter feel. And I've been playing Valhalla, so...
I just want to jump into Destiny real quick. Sadly, I think I have the Xbox version, and of course I have a PS5, so I can't... Does it have the upgrade free from PS4, or do you have to buy it again?
No, that one was another Christmas gift. Someone got me Destiny Beyond Light, which has everything. And it was on sale or something, but I know on Games Pass it's free. So that's one of the things that's like, damn, if I had an Xbox Series X, it would just be free and it would be easy.
Well, yeah, I'll probably enjoy it once I finally get a Series X, whenever that is. So a year from now or whatever. So.
And whenever you get that, and if I don't have an Xbox Series X, there's supposed to be crossplay pretty soon. so we could still play, or you could still play with your PlayStation friends or whatever, which is going to be really cool.
Dope.
And yeah, I played Assassin's Creed. I gotta say, I think that might be a franchise that's like really not for me. It's fantastic, but I hit a wall, and we were talking about it on an episode that we did a while ago. And then they were talking about how there's like a wall, and I hit the wall too. And it's just it's not bad. It's just one of those things where it's just kind of dull, and it's like the same thing over and over again. And it's been harder for it's like doesn't really sink in for me really, so it's easy to just forget about. I kind of get bored playing it, sadly, which is because everything about that game is pretty solid. It's just that there's not that one special thing to put it over the edge. So
Where are you in hours?
35, 40.
I heard that's when it got great. Isn't that what Dan Witt said?
That's what I heard too, but I'm coming across like maybe I leveled up weird or something. I'm gonna have to come back to it, and maybe I should just start doing the other quests or something. Maybe there's something I'm missing. But as far as like, I would just wish I could kind of like run through the story real quick. This whole leveling business and like being locked out of areas kind of sucks. So, but you've been playing it too. I saw that on your Facebook post.
Well, yeah. About a week or two, I wanted to check it out I got a new TV for the living room, and that Jason, Bud, and I share. And actually, JB, shout out to my new roomie, part of the GHG gamer chat. He's been playing more than me. So when I go to sleep, he plays till he plays at like 2 a.m. till about 4 a.m. or whatever, when he can. And he's loving it. He's loving it so far. I've only played kind of like through the initial story kind of, and then I got to the open world a little bit. So maybe 3, 4, 5% in the game. But really, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous on the PS5, and looks great. Which did you play, like performance mode or the I did one with the visual mode, and it still runs awesome. I didn't notice any. Maybe they did some upgrades since I got the game very late.
I think they did. They released a bunch of patches recently, and you know what? When it first came out, they didn't have an option to change between performance and visuals, so I just stuck with what they had, and I guess that's performance mode because now I'm on performance mode. And I agree with you, like the resolution mode, it still runs smooth. It's just that once you're in like a certain frame rate, it's so hard to switch over after you've been playing. Like I was playing 20 hours into it, so switching over to resolution mode was like weird to me. So I just kept it on performance mode.
So no, I'm actually playing with resolution mode, and I thought it ran great on there. Should I play on performance then?
I think you should stay where you're at, because if it doesn't look bad to you, like you might get cooler.
Yeah.
Without spoilers, there's certain sections of that game where I'm sure resolution mode will look super dope. So I think you should stay with that since you haven't like crossed over and it's not weird to you.
Right. Well, it's early, but speaking of like full performance mode, I'm playing a lot of Miles and Miles Morales, Marvel Spider-Man, and it looks ridiculously amazing, spectacular, superior on this. Yeah, it's a Sony. Yeah, Ultimate. Yeah, he is the Ultimate Spider-Man. So Sony X900H is the TV, and it's a 65 and running at the full performance mode with ray tracing, so it's 60 frames per second with ray tracing. So it's, I mean,
how about those reflections? Aren't those reflections badass when you're on a building and it's all glass? Looks 100%. So beautiful, right?
Dude, insane. And like I had mentioned in my article in the top 3 of the year, we'll get into that a little later, is that he just pops out at the screen. And have you seen the Spider-Verse costume?
Yeah.
So isn't it? It's supposed to be kind of glitchy in a way because it's the animated version, right? Because I'm sure people are looking up like glitch, and it's like, no, that's the movie. Like it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's exactly like as frame ratey as a movie.
Okay, yeah, it's so cool, and yeah, all the costumes are great. I'm 65% in, and I'm actually at the part of the game where it's like, if you go any further, you can't do anything else. It's kind of like I defeated the Prowler, and that was an awesome fight. I loved it. I'm playing on Amazing, which is kind of, I guess, a normal-ish.
I think it is standard, the default.
Yeah, standard. So not too hard, not too easy. Pretty good. It's still like a great fight. It wasn't frustrating, but I had a lot of fun in the battle. He was a great villain. And And so I'm just gonna do all the Genki app stuff right now. So
Yeah.
solve all the. I want to take my time. I don't want to beat the story yet. I want to beat the story when I got all the costumes, got all the stuff locked, kind of like I did with the first one. So
That side stuff, there isn't too much of it. It's a perfect amount, so you'll have fun breezing through all that stuff. They didn't try to like overstuff it just because the game was shorter. It's nice. It's a good little
yeah,
like quick hit of like Marvel Studios since we didn't get that. It's like
yep.
our Marvel movie for the year basically.
Exactly. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, it wasn't a full game and stuff." I was like, "It's the perfect length because with Assassin's Creed, with Cyberpunk, people are playing like all these other massive games, Yakuza, which I'm gonna talk about right now, like Yakuza Like a Dragon, still looking great on Xbox One X. I mean, it helps to be on the new TV, a lot higher frame rate. I'm about 55 plus hours in now, and in the middle of chapter 12. I think there's 16. So I'm about 2/3 there, almost more. And I got to a part of the game where you have to earn 3 million yen, and it's really hard to make money. And most of the time, you'll have like, if you have a lot of money, it's like 200,000 yen. So imagine me being like, am I really gonna have to grind another 50 hours? Thankfully, you get like a luxury Switch watch at the end of the boss fight in chapter 11. You can sell it to the pawn shop for 1 million yen.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
know. I don't know where that dude that we found in the trash came up with 1 million yen, but that's a big come up. And then the second part is actually kind of funny. You got to go around. It's one of the part-time hero quests. You got to go around and find 10 of these creepy duck statues, and they're like, there's even one in a food truck. You gotta like take pictures. It's kind of like Spider-Man, like the first Spider-Man, like taking pictures of stuff, and it's really cool. The name of the mission's called Capture the Kappa, and it's just like this demonic
Oh, nice.
Japanese duck, and it's like in the craziest places. It's like up in a balcony, and you can barely see it through a fence, and like it's wild. But yeah, I was able to take the 10 pictures and go back to the employer of part-time hero and make 2 million yen. So I got my 3 million yen.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it
that's
probably
cool.
took about an hour to do that, but because in between you're fighting people and whatnot in the streets and stuff, but not too shabby. Then I got to chapter 12 and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run through this game just in time for Gamecast. And then I got to Osaka, the Sotenbori Battle Arena, and I got to like, I don't know how many floors there are, but I did 18 floors of battles last night.
Oh jeez. Damn.
I was tempted to just keep grinding, and I was like, I don't want to. I went to bed at like 1:30, but I could have easily stayed up till 5 and just. It's the greatest place to grind, um, because in chapter 12 there's a villain you have to fight that's like level 50, and basically when you get to Osaka you're like 35.
Oh, okay.
So, but thankfully, your XP gets boosted up every level. You're getting people are leveling up. You're getting gear. And if you lose, you don't lose half your yen like you normally would. You just start over from. It basically takes you outside of the tower again, and you can just keep grinding if you want. You lose nothing. You basically lose. You lose absolutely nothing. You just start over, which is great. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing that later on. Try to
Nice.
get leveled up. So yeah, that's basically what I've been playing. So.
I wish Assassin's Creed had something like that, where it's like, here's the forever battle thing or whatever, where you could just like keep grinding something. Because I like that battle system too, so that'd be
Yeah.
cool. Well, that's what we've been playing recently.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into our game of the year because we released
Sweet.
GodHatesGeeks.com. You could check it
Mm-hmm.
out. We have all the lists, but we wanted to talk about it a little bit more on the podcast, on the Gamescast, because it's
Yeah, talk about our shit.
yeah, exactly. So if you didn't read it, I'll just quickly run down what my game of the years were. I'll start off at 3 just to make it exciting. No, I'll just do it as written because we have a specific way, notes wise, how we do it. My game of the year was Last of Us Part 2. I literally did 2 episodes. One's on podcast, and one's on here on the Gamescast. 2 spoilerific episodes. I talked so much about it. There's not a lot more I could say. Basically, it's just was a crazy experience. I really loved it. I still am thinking about all the crazy set pieces, and I know everyone likes to talk about how great the story was, and it was great, and there's so much to talk about there, and we did talk about it, but like some of those combat encounters still stick with me of like how cool it was to like just jump down and like open fire, but then go back into stealth mode. Really fun. Final Fantasy VII Remake was my number 2 We also talked about that on the podcast, me and you, and I forgot who, but still, so just one of those moments where it's just like this makes up for all the blockbusters not being released this year, because I got that same excitement when Cloud and Barrett and Tifa were like on the zip line going through an exploding building. Like that was just like one of those movie moments that in a video game, and then everything else about the game was great too. The combat system, all that. So
Oh, exactly. So that's also my number two. So why not just
yeah.
cut in? And basically, I have it number two for the same moments, for the same reasons, just because I had the biggest moments in gaming that year. I mean, like I said, I didn't play TLOU2, so I can't comment on that. But as far as story games, it might not have been the best game, but it had some of the best moments, like stuff that you can just remember. And yeah, the combat was fun. The way they modernized the classic RPG and everything. And
How
yeah,
about that music too? Might be the music of the year for me. That soundtrack. I know it's like iconic and classic and back in the day PS1, but like the way they updated it sounds so good, dude. Like sounds so cool.
it took us through a tough time of the year for sure. I
Hell
loved it.
yeah.
Absolutely loved it. But yeah, go ahead, number three.
Yeah, and speaking of a tough time, when the pandemic first started, Doom Eternal came out with Animal Crossing, and the reason why I didn't play Animal Crossing was mostly because I got more into Doom Eternal because it was so sweaty. I also talked about this on the podcast, but it was so sweaty and so engaging combat-wise that it helped me think about nothing, because I had to concentrate on the game, and it was exciting because just the puzzle stuff, the movement, mixed in with all the variations of guns and like how you need to kill demons a certain way to get different boosts, and juggling all that together was just so unique for a shooter to have like that puzzle element of just zipping around an arena. Like when it all came together, it made you just feel badass, not because you were overpowered, but badass because you were basically a superhero. It was great. It was super fun. That was tied with Ghost of Tsushima for me, which is kind of the opposite. It was more relaxing of a game. It was just a game a world I just really got into, and everything about the game was just, like we said on the podcast, nothing was like super amazing, but everything was just right. Story-wise, all the side stories, and all the combat mechanic was interesting enough, and the stealth mechanics were interesting enough that it all just came together. And it's one of those games you could just kind of binge and just like get lost in for a long time. So that was like perfect for me too. So
It was like a sandbox greatest hits kind of thing.
Yep. And then I will say Miles Morales was honorable mentions. Miles Morales, I will say, just because it was like, it was like the $40 option. But it was, if this was a top 10, it would definitely be on my top games of the year. So that was, like we said, it was just super exciting. The boss battles were great. The combat was great. Great hardware launch thing. Hades, I talked about. That's it was just a really, really fun roguelike with like a lot of fun characters. And it's an addicting loop where you just want to like try to see what you'll get next and how you're going to play next, because all the combat's so tight and so varied. And a lot of people like
frustrating, right?
No, not really. I mean, you'll die a lot, but like you'll get jokes about dying, and you can also, everything that you collected up until then makes you stronger. So it's not like you're ever starting fresh, a fresh run. You're going more powerful every time you go through it, and it's part of the point. Like you're supposed to be failing and being sent back to hell, and you go back, and then your dad Hades talks shit about you because you died. And depending if you beat a boss or not, they'll be there in the bar and they'll be like, "Oh, you got me this time," and then you could start a relationship with them. It's just really unique and interesting and fun and cool.
How are the difficulty levels and save points? Because I know a lot of roguelikes are ultra frustrating when it comes to those two things.
Well, save points, the only thing that really saves is all the blood vials and stuff that you earn to make you more powerful. You're going to have to run through it again. But the cool thing about that is the levels are always varied and procedurally generated. And the power-ups you get throughout and the different weapons you could use, it feels like a different style of fighting every time you run through it. So you could always experiment. Even if you use the same weapon over and over again, depending on the power-ups you use, it'll feel like a different game. So it's always entertaining. Maybe not bingeable if you get too frustrated and you want to see the end story. There's no real end story. The story is how much you upgrade yourself and how much you get into a relationship with all the people around you, depending on how much you talk to them and how much you give them stuff. They'll give you stuff too. It's really fun. It's really unique and cool.
Good.
Call of Duty Warzone. This is actually, it's not one of the main Call of Duties, but it's their Battle Royale mode, which is like a standalone thing. It was just really solid, man. And like, we didn't get to hang out with a lot of friends physically this year, but it was like one of the ways that I hung out with friends because everyone could pick up Call of Duty. So even people that I know that don't play Fortnite and Apex and stuff, and like I'm one of those people, you're familiar with Call of Duty. So it was like a really solid, just um, first, almost, it's not the first time technically, but for Infinity Ward it's the first time. And they did a good job at like making it interesting all year. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, one solid remaster. It was a great to be nostalgic and like get all that stuff again. It got me listening to like that pop punk ska shit again for a couple months, which was really fun.
I forgot. Is there split screen in that game?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, cool.
So
All
if
right.
you're with a roommate too, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
forgot because we were all looking for. We had on New Year we had one buddy over that's a mutual friend, and well, shout out to John Kent, and he was in the Jivo, and we wanted to play some two-player games. Well, really, we just played fighting games, and I forgot. Like we played NBA 2K, but we could have played Tony Hawk split
yeah.
screen, especially on a 65. You're gonna get a nice big. If you're sitting close enough, you can see a lot of the screen.
And then if you
So
remember when we were kids and played that, we were all on 20-inch screens anyway, so
exactly.
we
So
made
imagine now.
do. It's actually a good way playing some of those multiplayer modes. Split screen is a good way to get a feel for some of those courses because you can do modes where you're not limited to the 2 minute runs or whatever that you have to do. So
Good
it
point.
actually helped a lot when I played with my cousin too, split screen, and it
Sick.
was like, oh, this is how I could get used to this game or whatever. So that was, yeah.
Cool.
And then Squadrons, we talked about, but yeah, X-Wing TIE Fighter. I was glad to jump in the cockpit again, and it was great. It was really fun. What about you? What about you, Moody? What's your game of
So
the years?
yeah, so Squadrons is in my honorable mentions as well. And I just wish it was optimized because I feel like I neglect it because I have a PS5 and it's a PS4 game and they haven't done anything with it. I know some updates are coming, but not graphical or performance wise. But I'm sure it's still gonna look pretty good. I kind of been playing more in my room on my just a regular HD TV and stuff and the PS4, but it's kind of damn. It would be such a great game to have living room with the sound and everything. So I don't know. I'll have to give it a go one of these days. Get back into it. I still got a lot left, but yeah, definitely deserve honorable mentions. More honorable mention. We mentioned Jivo. A couple games that we spotlighted the last time we had Jivo was Under Night in Birth
Oh yeah,
and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. These were two games that you don't hear about all year. I mean, unless you're a fighting game freak or anime freak or whatever, it's like you hear about Mortal Kombat 11 and you Smash and Street Fighter and stuff, but you don't hear about these two games, and they were outstanding. And they have campaigns, but it's more just fights after fights. But they did a great job integrating like a long lore and a long story in both, and they both look really spectacular just on Nintendo Switch and PS4 alone. They looked great, and we had lots of fun with these two because we had a lot of gamers that aren't really into that culture, but they were like loving the hell out of these games in Jivo. So that was a lot of fun. Shout out to Sackboy. We talked about that on the PS5 show. Sackboy: A Big Adventure was the game that made me happy to get a PS5 because even though it's available on other platforms, I would have been like, oh, I'm spending $550 to get Miles Morales. You know what I mean? And then some of the third party games. And this game kind of just, with the controller and everything, it kind of just felt like, it almost felt exclusive, even though you could play it on other stuff. It felt like a PS5 exclusive just with the way it worked with the adaptive controller. Doom Eternal, we mentioned. I still got half the game to play. It was quarantine. It was kind of too crazy for me at the time, but it's a spectacular game. Um, Persona 5 Royale
oh
was,
yeah,
if it wasn't 220 hours plus, that's where I'm at. 220 hours plus. I still
yeah.
got the Royals. I'm in the middle of the Royal stuff. Like, if it wasn't that long, it would have just been my game of the year, period. Like, it's a five Bible game, but it's so effing long. And I still got more to do, so that'll be probably a bedroom game. And then Yakuza, we mentioned, Like a Dragon, as an honorable mention, definitely deserves in my top five. So top three, number three, Miles Morales, we already went over it. I gave it 4.5 Bibles. I didn't care. I love that it's a compact game because we had our Ghost of Tsushima, the Final Fantasies. We had, there's a Cyberpunk, there's Assassin's Creed. So it was nice to have just a game you could just kind of play a little bit, put it down, and it can last a while. Number two, FF7 Remake. Yeah, for all the same reasons you did. And number one, Ghost of Tsushima. I saw like almost 30 samurai movies leading up to this. It lived up to the hype. I actually love the story a lot more than most people. The sub stories were so good. I love the characters. The side characters caught me by surprise. But we did a whole episode on FF7, Cyberpunk, The Last of Us, and Ghost of Tsushima for a reason. Just go if you want to know full in depth. Go watch those previous Gamecasts, please. And yeah, those top 2 games of the year. I couldn't decide 4.5, 4.7. No game really stood out like a God of War, like this game, Red Dead 2. But these games were kind of like would have been number 2, number 3 those years. They're kind of like almost superior. So yeah, that's it. That's my top 5.
But there's more people than us on the Gamescast. We have all our favorite guests and everyone that writes for GHD that hasn't come on yet. We hope to remedy that soon. But we'll go over GHG's Game of the Year. We basically, Moody took all these scores, averaged them out. There's a whole system. There's a whole process. It's all done by committee.
Sure.
And I'll go through the top 5, and you can check it out on the article on GodHatesGeeks.com.
Yep.
Number 5 was Hades. A lot more people than I thought would get into it. Maybe the TGAs had something to do with it. 4, Animal Crossing. Neither of us played it, but it was like culturally a huge game, so it makes sense it's represented. Yeah, like a perfect game for the pandemic. Weirdly. 3rd was Last of Us 2. It came in 3rd, I'm guessing, because we have a lot of Xbox fans on the site that were not down to play it. Not everyone played it. 2 was Final Fantasy VII Remake. Just 2 across the board for everyone.
Everyone's number 2 of the year.
Yeah, and number 1, Ghost of Tsushima, which is great, perfect. I think it's a good game it's one of those games that like everyone could get into no matter what kind of gamer you are. So
Yep.
It makes sense that Ghost of Tsushima's number 1. So yeah, that's Game of the Year 2020.
I gotta say, like looking back, and I know my number 1 and number 2 reflect this list, and I know I run God Hates Geeks, but this to me was like the most perfect top 5 because Hades was kind of like that hipster pick you see on like IGN.
Indie dev, like different. It's not AAA, whatever.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing's the Nintendo game of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, Animal Crossing was like the cultural iconic game, so it was represented. Number 3 was the TGA winner, pretty much won every award and had the highest reviews of the year. And then number 2 was just that remake. Everyone's number 2. And
super anticipated game, delivered apparently. And number 1.
Yeah, just number 1, Ghost of Tsushima was on everyone's list. It was on everyone's list, even if it was an honorable mention. Number 3, it was the one game that was on every one of our panel's list, so it made sense to be number 1. So,
I gotta brag for a second. It was my number 1 anticipated this time last year, and I think a lot of people didn't have it in their anticipated list, so called it.
Yeah,
even though it wasn't my personal. I still called it. It was
really like a fist bump.
Boom. But now we're closing the book on 2020. Let's get into 2021, a new year, new games, new generation. We're in it. Even though a lot of games are coming out for both, we're starting to slowly transition, and I think we're going to transition faster than the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One generation did. So
definitely,
we'll see. We said I was going to start with this one.
Go ahead. We'll fly through it, and if I got to jump in and agree or anything, I will.
So I made some changes on the notes after I sent it to you because I forgot about one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the number 5 is going to be surprise. It's kind of a surprise for me, but I think Hogwarts Legacy will be interesting to check out. If only for the fact that you're learning magic at a school and then you're going out and doing quests and leveling up. It gives me like Fire Emblem 3 Houses vibes, but with like a AAA, like huge, big budget 3D RPG open world kind of vibe. So even though I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan head, I mean, I've seen all the movies and stuff, but I'm just not a huge Potter head. I still am really anxious to see what that would be like. I can't believe a franchise that big hasn't had a video game that big. I know there's like a bunch of other ones, but this is like their Arkham Asylum or whatever, their Shadow of Mordor. So that's actually number 5 for me. Number 4 is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I was excited for this when I saw it on the PS5 little preview event. That whole warping to other worlds, all the first party things that they're going to do with the controller, I'm so excited about, and I really want to see what they're going to do with a PS5 hardware like from a first party studio and just go for it. I should have put Astro Bot in the honorable mentions because that was like really solid of a game, and even though it's
Yeah.
free and it's short, it really showcased what the PS5 can do, not just graphically but every other thing with the controller. And I think Ratchet and Clank will do that too, as far and also with the SSD stuff where it's like super fast load. So I'm really stoked to see what that looks like.
Yeah, that's also my number four. And
Yeah.
even though Sackboy and Astro's Playroom are kind of holding down that platform fort right now, I still want this game just because of what you said, just being able to switch on the fly, no latency. As far as go warping from the world, it's gonna be sick, dude. I can't wait.
And it'll be a little step up from those because it's like it's closer to our age stuff. There's like a lot of shooting, and it's going to be a longer game than Astros, and probably more of a story than Sackboy. So it
Absolutely.
should be fun. Number three, surprisingly, never played this franchise before until the winter, but Hitman 3. The first couple Hitmans were really good, and this one is already getting good reviews. I can't wait to see that sandbox. There's already a preview of the Burj Khalifa. You can walk around and
Nice.
kick people off the Burj Khalifa or do whatever wild, silly stuff you could do. And it's, the next gen. And another fun thing that like I said before, is Hitman 1 and 2 will be included in the game. So if you haven't played those, buy Hitman 3 and you can still play through the campaign in
Oh,
the
great.
new Hitman engine.
Mhm.
And this is their last big thing before James Bond, hopefully, which will be like really great because it's kind of a sleeper series, but everyone that plays Hitman seems to really like it, and it's a fun, entertaining game. Number two, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Well, Forbidden
Forbidden
West.
West. Horizon Forbidden West, no more Zero Dawn. Even though this is one of those games that's made for PS4 and PS5, I still thought the first Horizon, as far as new EP goes for Guerrilla Games, was like pretty surprisingly great. Maybe not the best in the PS4 lineup, but like great new IP, which is great. So I can't wait to see what else we got going and to see, it really looked so beautiful on PS4 Pro. So I can't wait to see how up-resed the PS5 will look. It's a great game. And number one, of course, God of War,
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. This is one of the ones me and Moody were joking. There's going to be a lot of these games that are coming out in 2021 also. So I kind of was like a little hesitant because I think this might be coming out in 2022.
Likely,
Is what I
yeah.
meant to say. Yeah, it's going to be delayed probably because Horizon this year and some other games
Yeah.
that are PS5 exclusives. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's also my number two. But yeah, just the return of Santa Monica Studios. It'll definitely come out 2022. There's no way.
And then based on the teaser at the end of the God of War 1 or the last God of War, like, dude, things are going to get crazy.
Mhm.
Ragnarok is supposed to be a big event, and it's the apocalyptic event in Norse mythology. So, man, I want to see what it looks like with Kratos and the serpent that eats the world and stuff. Is it too bad to do spoilers? But like Thor and Loki, what that's gonna look like and how they're related to you and stuff. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be really
So
cool.
amazing.
And
Can't
that's
wait.
going to be only PS5. So they're not going to be held back. We're not going to get Kratos like shimmying through the cliff, the little cliff thing because it's a loading screen or whatever, or like the elevators as a loading screens. Hopefully, so it'll be like PS5 full force. Maybe anticipating whenever that comes out, that's going to be like, we're in next gen. It's completely changed over. We're all here now, PS5. So yeah,
Can't
and
wait
then
for that.
some honorable mentions: Persona 5 Strikers. That's a Musu game, but it's Persona 5. They're trying to do something different, and it's supposed to be like a sequel to the story. And they're
Nice.
working with the developers on that, so that's really cool. Personally, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. That's the Jet Grind Radio thing. It's like a PC game. It's a little indie game, but it's like a spiritual successor to your favorite roller skating / graffiti game, Tony Hawk meets Anarchy, which will be great. Back for Blood is one of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, that was a great surprise at the TGAs, right? It was like at
Yeah,
first we were like, "Oh, look at this Left 4 Dead ripoff." Oh wait, it's a
it is
sequel.
the guys. Oh, it's all the developers for Left 4 Dead
Yeah, yeah.
and a new thing. So yeah, that's exciting. I still play Left 4 Dead. There was like a new level that like launched during the pandemic, and it was
No
like
shit.
I played with a bunch of friends still, and it was still fun. So
That's tight.
I want to. It's only an honorable mention because it's like I don't expect them to do something interesting with a campaign, so it's not going to be a game that takes up too much of my time. I don't think. Deathloop is one of my honorable mentions. It looks great. I just don't know what to expect because I haven't played any
Yeah.
of that developer's other stuff.
Oh,
Ghostwire
you never
Tokyo.
played Dishonored?
No, man.
Oh man.
It's one of those games that's just like, man, there's other games out now right now, so I missed this, so it's a bummer. Uh,
Ooh.
Ghostwire Tokyo is the same thing. I'm not sure what that's gonna be, but it looks interesting. It looks different, so that's cool. Mass Effect, the series coming back.
Never heard of it.
This is a big one. This is my
Never heard of
biggest.
it.
I'm surprised you aren't wearing an N7 sweatshirt
I
right
know,
now or
right?
anything.
Well, it's Game of the Year show and news show, so I was trying to combine both. But
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, this is like I said on podcast before. This franchise is one of my biggest blind spots, as far as just like a huge game and a game that seems like it would be right up my alley as a big Star Wars and Star Trek fan. So, yeah, I can't wait to play all of them in March because there's a window between March and May that there's nothing coming out. So, Returnal. I'm excited to see what that studio does. Housemarque does all those crazy shooters that are like twin stick shmups, but they're doing their first like third person action game that's like huge. So I can't wait to see what they do. Psychonauts 2, I've talked about on the podcast before. Fun platformer, ingenious ideas in Psychonauts 1, good humor, really creative and fun mechanics, and I
Tim
can't wait to see
Schafer.
what 2 is. Yeah, Tim
Yeah.
Schafer's classic, one of the icons of game development. And Halo Infinite should have been on my top 10, but we only did 5, and I'm still I'm not as excited because I don't know for sure if I'm getting a Series X this year, and I really would be more like, if I had one, I would be super excited because I want to see what that plays like. But yeah, it's only in the honorable mentions because I don't have a Series X. And Far Cry 6, can't wait to see what I think that's the one Ubisoft franchise that like I'm into because it's the shooter one. Even though it does the same things as like, jump the towers, it's an open world, get the tower to reveal the map or whatever. It's the same stuff as all the Ubisoft games,
Yeah,
but
as a
it's more
formula.
my speed because it's the first person shooter, and that's probably my preference or whatever. So yeah, what's yours? Isn't Far Cry 6 on yours, sir?
Yeah, so it's actually number 5.
Nice.
I
Perfect
kind of with this,
segue.
yeah, right. So
It's like we
kind of with
planned it.
this list, I kind of went with a couple dream games, but I wanted to put games that we're actually going to play this year because it's so easy to go like, all right, number one, Skyrim 2 or Elder Scrolls 6 or yeah,
Elden Ring. I doubt Elden Ring is coming out this
it's
year, guys.
yeah, a lot of these games we could talk about in the next episode. Like there's like gazillion other games in development. We're not going to be able to talk about any of them today. But yeah, number 5, Far Cry 6. I actually never finished Far Cry 5 despite the fun GHG sacrilegious overtones and stuff. And I was really digging the concept. I don't think the execution was that bad, but just it's one of those games just so formulaic. Do this, do that, do that. And it's like even with the cool characters, it kind of wasn't enough. But because of Moff Gussian, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Mr. El Presidente here, Giancarlo Esposito. So he returns to video games, and yeah, it'll be really cool to
I
see
think
him.
me and you are switched on the Far Cry and Assassin's Creed series. I think like you're more of an Assassin's Creed guy, I'm more of a Far Cry guy. But we both
Yeah,
appreciate the other franchises. It's just like not for us, or it's like not entirely our bag
right,
or whatever.
right. I mean that said, I think it was like which is like the great Far Cry, Far Cry 3 or
3
2.
was really, really like
3
3
was the
blew it
one
up.
like that. That was definitely one of my favorite games that year. Number 4, Ratchet and Clank. We went over that. Rift Apart. Number 3, Halo Infinite. I mean, it's Halo, right? It's Xbox Series X Last Stand. It's the reason why I don't have an Xbox Series X because Halo didn't come out. When it comes out, I probably will. So hopefully, and then they brought in a former developer, Joseph Staten. So that kind of helps. So I think there's a 1 year delay, right? We're waiting till the fall. They said.
Fall this year, and they're saying they're trying to address everything that people had a problem with their debut preview. So seem to be
Yeah,
working hard on it, and they this has got to work. It's like you said, Halo has to work. It can't fail.
they can't. No, absolutely can't. Yeah, Ragnarok, God of War, number 2, and then yeah, number 1, of course, my background video wallpaper thing here, virtual background, Mass Effect, and tied with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which comes out this year, and then Mass Effect. Who knows when that? Probably 2022 Christmas or maybe 2023 if it's delayed. But yeah, I mean the reboot will also be BioWare's Last Stand, because man, God, I mean,
Was Anthem, and then what was after that?
before that was Mass
Androm.
Effect
Oh yeah,
Andromeda, and then
Andromeda,
some people are
Anthem.
split on Dragon Age Inquisition. I actually really love that game. Think I played like 80 hours in it, and then Dragon Age 4, using Solus is now he was one of our buddies, and now it's going to be the prime antagonist. Like, that definitely deserves an honorable mention. And then yeah, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm looking forward to that because it's my favorite game of all time, my favorite gaming trilogy, and I'm curious to see how the choices wind up at the very end of the whole thing. Like, are they just going to go with that hard fixed DLC ending? That'll be cool. I want to see if it's just a remaster. I'm hearing it's more of a PS4 HD. It's not really optimized, which makes sense if it's coming out this year, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
true.
optimized. That said, I'm still gonna be. It's should have a great performance on the PS5. Should still look pretty good. It's gonna look better than the last time we played it on the 360 or PS3 or whatever. And even I don't know, but the one thing about that is the original Mass Effect. How is that's gonna be. We talked about this before. That's gonna be tough to play again unless they do something else,
Yeah,
with
unless they
it.
change up some of those weird grindy elements with the car or whatever. I've heard stories about finding all the monkeys,
Yeah.
just like really grindy, boring missions. So yeah, and then the combat wasn't really refined until 2, right? So that was
Yep.
one thing
Yeah.
that people were saying.
Two is looked at as one of the greatest games of all time, and three, if you took away the ending that made people want to commit suicide and murder other people, three was a great game. Just that one, you kind of work so hard to be this one type of character, and it doesn't work out. I was a renegade, and it was not. What was the balance there? Almost the hero, named Vanguard.
I'm not
Vanguard.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Vanguard. So you end up with the Vanguard ending no matter what. If you're even though you're a bloody murderous renegade killing people left and right, you get the Captain America ending even though you were Loki the whole time. So I get it, but it didn't the game was so great that it's kind of the
People
ending didn't
just
ruin it for me.
they were just hyped up at the time, right? Like, and then all that hype, and then it was a big event, and everyone's mad at once.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we'll relive those times on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So, quick honorable mentions for my anticipated games of 21, hopefully 21, maybe 22. Jivo, Guilty Gear Strive. If we're allowed to have people over again, if we have Jivo at the new Moody Mance, this will be the main event. Guilty Gear. People love the old school one. The new one looks fantastic. Yeah, Forbidden West. I never, here's two games I haven't played, and I have these on my list. Forbidden West. I still haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn. I have it. It's been sitting there. Just haven't got into it yet. And Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. I
Oh
haven't played
yeah.
Senua's Sacrifice yet, Hellblade. So those are games I own because the game, with Game Pass and everything, I need to play with this downtime. I need to. And I know once they announce hard release dates for these, I will definitely get into the other ones. And yeah, so I'm excited for these honorable mentions because I get to play the other ones finally. Um, Back for Blood could be a lot of fun. Battlefield, if they have another game,
Oh
that could be
yeah.
dope. Especially if it's optimized, and just made for PS5 only or whatever, it could be super dope.
Yeah, because they're usually on a 2-year cycle with that, so this would be the year that they
Yep.
would have to do something.
Yeah, and I wasn't a fan of the last Battlefield, but the very first remake, I mean, like the new volume of Battlefield 1 was amazing. I thought it was like
Oh
one of the
right.
best games of that year, and then the follow-up kind of just came and went. And then yeah, the two Bethesda games, man. Deathloop comes out in May, and it's on PS5, so that's good news. And Ghostwire Tokyo, so those should be cool. I mean, there's a zillion other games to talk about, but we can do that on the next episode if you want.
Yeah, and we definitely will. We'll get other people on. I want to hear from, and Moody will also wants to hear from all our other guests and what they're anticipating. And there's so many more things that we have to deep dive. So stay tuned. We're back. The winter break's over. There's nothing else to do
Yeah.
continually except playing video games.
Oh, I
So we'll
just
be
thought of
here.
one.
Oh, what?
Just thought of one. That AEW wrestling game. Hello, Ringside Apostles.
Oh yeah, isn't Ukes doing that?
Ukes is doing it. Actually,
That's
so it's
so
not the company Ukes,
crazy.
but the original developer is
Oh,
doing it. So yeah, the guy who created WWE No Mercy is returning and helping out AEW, and it looks kind of like No Mercy, which some people are kind of bashing, but I'm like, this is what you guys have always wanted. The internet just cannot be happy for 2 seconds. But it
yeah.
looks like an upgraded version. But they're because of that, they're kind of taking their sweet time. And every week after AEW Dynamite, they're doing a AEW wrestling video game YouTube kind of streaming special every Wednesday. Kenny Omega's the host. Sometimes Kip Sabian's on there. Maybe Mero will be on next week. Like they're kind of just rolling out the games that they're talking about and giving little updates of like what they're doing. I know they're doing Creator Wrestler. And yeah, Kenny Omega said this week that what they're going for is a sim based wrestling, but they want the fun action that so people because like Fire Pro Wrestling is total sim and it turned away a lot of people. It's hard to play. This is going to be easy to play, but still sim based. It's going to have all the realistic stuff. So you have realistic matches and realistic like creative player and universe mode and stuff like that. So man, it's going to be sick. It's going to
That
be
sounds
crazy.
like the wrestling games of the 64, which I really liked. So that was really cool.
Yep. So that's
those
it.
were
I couldn't
fun.
forget that.
And shout out to Ringside Apostles. It's back, right? You're talking about wrestling again. That's up, and then Toy Kind of Mood is up. So stay tuned. God Hates Geeks. We're not going to do a lot of written content. We're just kind of take a break for that, but we're
Yep.
full on with all these YouTube shows. So check us
Yep.
out. Subscribe to us on the channel or look at godhatesgeeks.com. Moody, it's good to see you this
Awesome.
year. Happy New
Happy-
Year, sir.
Happy New Year to you.
I can't wait to keep talking about more video games. Let's do this. I'm going to start to play another round of Hitman right now. So we'll
Yep.
be talking about that and a lot more other stuff. We
Yeah,
didn't
well,
even
both.
talk. We
Well, I
didn't
was
even
gonna
talk
say
about
both.
Perfect Dark, so we got to talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. What the hell? How did we miss that? No, I was gonna say my both of my football teams are out of it. So on Sundays, I'm free to talk games with you.
Yeah, and the Celtics pushed back their game today because of COVID restrictions. So,
The
yep,
beat goes on and on.
yep. But until then, we'll be seeing you next time. See ya.
See ya.